banished from Earth Classic Game Room broadcasts from the Intergalactic Space Arcade on its never-ending mission to review everything. Welcome to Classic Game Room, where we're about to rock it like Herbie Hancock on the Game Boy with Missile Command. Would you like to play a game? Yes. I love the cheerful, uplifting music that they added to the menus here in 1991's Missile Command for the Nintendo Game Boy. The portable version of Atari's 1980 arcade classic about the fun you can have surviving a global thermonuclear war. This actually plays pretty well considering the limitations of the Game Boy, but the first thing you'll notice, in addition to the missing trackball, is that you only have two missile bases from which to launch missiles. Alpha Base and Omega Base. Thanks to budget cuts, we no longer have a Delta Base. Or it's because the Game Boy only has two buttons. And it doesn't even have a trackball, yet somehow it still manages to play a pretty good game of Missile Command. This may be the ultimate irony, playing Missile Command on the Game Boy while sitting next to an actual Missile Command, but if you have to go somewhere like on a bus or train or airplane, try lugging this thing around with you. You're better off playing this version. Unless you book the seat next to you and just take that with a generator. This is true, that's how I travel with a Vectrex, but the Missile Command machine is approaching 400 pounds, and it's quite large. I'm a huge fan of the game, obviously, which is why I have one in the editing suite right next to the Outdoor Simulation Wall 9000. Your nuclear weapons can't get through my shield of defense, my shield of 80s awesomeness. That's right, it's like the video game equivalent of watching Red Dawn. Whenever you step up to a game of Missile Command, it's always the Cold War, no matter what year it is. Now for the younger viewers who may not be familiar with Missile Command, back in the day we had threats other than just terrorists, biological weapons, plagues, disease, aliens, robots, and being invaded by the Canadians. We had to worry about the constant threat of global thermonuclear war. Missile Command is basically a training exercise where you're supposed to shoot down all of the enemy ICBMs before they nuke your cities and irradiate your population. Now, one of the things I like about this version of Missile Command is that you're defending real cities. For example, I've just failed to protect Sydney. I'm sorry. Or should I say you're welcome, because now it's time for the Road Warrior. You see, that's the great thing about losing Missile Command, because then the game turns into something else, like Fallout, Wasteland, or maybe even the alternate cut of War Games, where Matthew Broderick and Ali Sheedy just weren't fast enough and it turns into the day after. Not tomorrow, because that movie was terrible. Yes! A bonus city! Fortunately, this smaller, truncated version of Missile Command is not terrible, even without a trackball, even on the black and white, old-school Game Boy screen with only two missile bases. It's pretty good. It's good because it's Missile Command, universally likable. Even without a trackball, the game is still playable, although it is best with a trackball, of course. And you can tell this is a post-Cold War version because here I am defending Moscow. That raises an interesting question. Who's launching the missiles? The Sasquatch. I laugh at the inferior missiles trying to destroy me. Except for that one. That actually did destroy me. Oh no! Whenever you lose a game of Missile Command, it automatically turns into a game of Moon Patrol. Missile Command is a great game and it makes for a fine release on the Game Boy. This was sent to the show by our friend Athanasios from Nia Smyrni in Greece. And hopefully I pronounced it correctly. Although given my track record, probably not. Thank you once again, Athanasios. I like this game a lot. I think it's a terrific portable version of Missile Command. If you're taking a trip and you need your 80s fix of arcade-style global thermonuclear war, then try to bring this version of Missile Command with you instead of the full-size arcade machine. It's much easier to fit into your luggage.